Welcome! Today we're going to talk about the effects of oral repeated reading on struggling middle school readers with and without corrective feedback. The purpose of this video is to talk about the experiment that was done on struggling middle school readers and what strategies we can use to enhance fluency and comprehension skills in our middle school classrooms. At an early age, students are taught how to read. Fluency and comprehension are two of the biggest things that are taught at an early age. Without it, students struggle academically and it will follow them throughout their whole career in school. The foundations of academic achievement are reading fluency and reading comprehension. They're vital and need to be taught extremely well at an early age. Researchers conducted this study to examine the effects that oral repeated reading had on struggling middle school readers. They wanted to see if these strategies would increase fluency and reading comprehension in these students so that they could help teachers understand so that the teachers could apply it in their classrooms. The researchers that performed this study gave each set of students two types of text. They gave them an expository text and a narrative text. You can see the definitions for those here. An expository text is one that provides facts in an educational or a purposeful way. So it could have been a text that told about the events in a war, or maybe it could have been a text about science. They had the opportunity to read that text as a form of text that was informational to them. Then the narrative text is a text that tells a story. It could have been a story about a boy and his dog. It could have been a story about a family who moved to a new city. We don't know the story, but those were the kind of texts that the students were given during this experiment. The researchers who performed this experiment split the students into two groups. The first group received no corrective feedback. The second group received corrective feedback. Each group of students was required to read each type of text 3 separate times. For the group that received corrective feedback, they only received the feedback on the first and second readings. The third reading, they received no feedback. The group that received corrective feedback received corrections on mispronunciations, hesitations, insertions, omissions, and substitutions while reading the narrative and the expository passage. Corrective feedback is commonly used with repeated reading to keep students from practicing the same mistakes while reading. This, in turn, affects their fluency and their comprehension because they're less distracted by those mistakes and rather can focus on the text itself. For those students that received the corrective feedback, the miscues, the hesitations, the mispronunciations, all of that was recorded and given to them at the end of each reading. Then they proceeded with the next reading, which again was given feedback, and the last reading they received no feedback. After the readings were completed, each student was given 8 questions to answer. 4 of the questions were implicit and 4 of the questions were explicit. The implicit questions required students to draw context clues from the text. This required the students to look at the text deeply to understand what all happened. The students then had to make inferences to answer the questions correctly. The explicit questions assessed how well the students understood the text and how well they could draw specific information from that text. The 4 questions were given to assess whether or not the students comprehended in full what happened in the text, if they could repeat back facts that happened in the text. Both types of questions are essential for reading comprehension. Students need to be able to answer implicit questions and draw context clues and make inferences about the text to explain what happened. But they also need to be able to answer explicit questions and draw facts straight from the text to answer basic questions. After the students answered the 8 questions, in reference to the text that they read. Results were drawn about how the students increased in their fluency skills. As you can see on the graphs, the students who did not receive corrective feedback for their reading started off at a higher fluency score than the students who did receive corrective feedback. The students in both groups started off with lower fluency scores for the narrative than they did for the expository text. But as you can see, both groups of students made significant improvement the more they read the passages of text. With the second reading, it's higher for both. With the third reading, it's even higher for both groups of students. This study aligns with previous research done that examines the effects of oral repeated reading on struggling readers. And this study is important for educators and future educators like myself to educate themselves on and to study on, because there are students now and there will be students in the future in our classrooms who will need strategies like this one to improve their fluency and their comprehension skills. This study proved that this strategy is effective for middle school struggling readers to improve on their fluency and their comprehension skills. Very little time is taken in middle school classrooms to teach basic fluency and comprehension skills. Without these skills, students will continue to experience difficulty in their reading skills. They'll probably have difficulty in their other classes because they're not comprehending, they're not understanding what's happening in the text. So they can't apply it to their homework, to their test, and to their state test they will eventually have to take. Based on this study, teachers can allow students who are struggling to read text more than once while providing corrective feedback to those students to improve their fluency and comprehension skills. This feedback will help them not focus on the mistakes they're making, but they can focus on the text itself and understand the concept that the text is trying to teach. Thank you for watching my video and have a great day.